Let June the 23rd go down in our history as our Independence Day.
The British people have made a very clear decision to take a different path.
No one really knows what the future is going to look like.
That's a defaced union, Jack. You're not allowed to deface us.
The shocking defeat of the Remain campaign.
We've got our country back.
Caused the largest collapse of any major currency in the history of the modern global financial system.
You could literally watch the pound falling off the edge of the cliff.
If the last time we saw falls of 8%, I'm not sure we actually know.
People in the City of London were running their own private polling to get information about the vote while it was still happening.
It was probably one of the most lucrative nights for the hedge fund industry that there had ever been.
Brexit night was a huge deal for everyone in the country. I watched it on television the same way most people did. At 10 p.m, voting stopped, the polling stations closed.
All of the networks, all of the broadcasters went immediately to their coverage.
In or out, it is too late to change your mind now.
So within the first minute, they had a concession from Nigel Farage, who's the global face of Brexit.
This statement as the polls close. It's been an extraordinary referendum campaign. This is Nigel Farage. Turnout looks to be exceptionally high and looks like Remain will edge it.
I remember being shocked when I heard that, just because it was quite out of character for somebody like him to concede before even the results had been counted. Later that evening, Nigel Farage came out again with a second concession speech, and this one was a bit more specific than the first. In this one, he said that Remain had won and that he had heard this from some friends in the city who had run some pretty big private polling.
And that really shook me. That was when I really realized, wait a minute, the pollsters secretly working with hedge funds, and Nigel had access to that information before any of the votes were even announced. That was the moment when I realized there's a lot here for us to look into. First thing that I did was I created a very detailed timeline of everything that happened politically, everything that the pollsters were doing, and how the markets were reacting. We had to try to identify the polling firms that were involved and the hedge funds that they were working for. So we had these two giant haystacks that we kind of had to go searching for needles in.
So we set out to interview as many of the polling company employees, former employees we started with, so as not to alert them to what we were doing.
And people were genuinely scared about the implications of talking to a journalist about something like this.
We basically wanted to know who the buyers were of these polls and who was conducting them and why.
Two polling firms that were notable in all this and that we highlighted in the story were YouGov, which is one of the fastest growing polling companies in the world, and a company called Survation.
Hello and welcome to Pop Idol.
In the early stages of both YouGov and Survation, part of their market legend was built around the work they did on UK talent competitions like Pop Idol and X Factor. They were really the first to build polling panels, large groups of people that were available to them online that they could tap with sort of the press of a button. What was interesting about those polls is it was an early indicator that you didn't need to know the outcome of the actual competition. You didn't need to know who won X Factor. All you needed to know was who was going to vote for which candidate on which particular week in X Factor, for you to then be able to make a market bet.
For the Brexit referendum, the senior members of the polling industry told the press that it was not possible to do a regular exit poll for this event. Their normal methods, their normal data gathering simply wouldn't work in this context.
What they didn't say was they were secretly doing it for hedge funds at the same time who were trying to profit on the day from the ultimate inside information, which was an exit poll showing how British people had voted.